Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be playing in what I consider to be the 3 most brain-dead tanks in Blitz. These are vehicles that if you are a beginner or not very good at the game, you should probably consider driving. Now, I think each one of them has their own advantages and capabilities. The last one I'll be talking about today, the Minotauro, you have to have at least one working IQ to understand its playstyle, because it has 2 shells, and then a third one, which if you shoot, will literally have your effective damage per minute. And you can instantly tell whether a player is having a brain that works or doesn't have a brain that works. I'm going to be honest, if you're the kind of player that dumps your reserve shell in the minnow immediately when loading into the battle, I don't know what to say. Maybe start using that noggin. But we're here, starting off with the IS-7. This is the Tier 10 Soviet Heavy. The IS-7, it's definitely been nerfed quite a bit, but it's also been buffed quite a bit. It's been nerfed in its armor frontally. In fact, I don't really get too many bounces on my upper plate or lower plate in the IS-7. And because it has poor gun depression, it is a little bit hard to hide the frontal weak spots. But it has a very strong turret with no hatches, which is really, really good. Not only that, it has high alpha, dealing 460 damage per shot, and it has good mobility, reaching a top speed upwards of 40 kilometers per hour with a pretty solid power to weight, as we can see here. So it's, in general, a fairly mobile, well-armored, heavy tank. And the side armor is incredibly troll, which allows it to get away with a lot more than it really should. Now, I did get spotted. I don't know what spotted me. Oh, we got a 183 over here. But this is a great example of where my armor in the IS-7 is very strong, because this little mound is hiding my weak hull armor. So if this enemy FE2 and 5B 183 decides to poke me, where I'm sitting, the 183 is seeing not much. I was going to show you this. This is what the 183 sees when he pokes. So it's giving me a very solid situation. Now, the problem is, there still is an FE2 and 5B. Okay, there it is. What's funny is that I'm actually outspotted by a Tier 9 tank destroyer because of the fact they just have so much camo. Like, that guy's not even in a bush. He's just outspotting me in the open. I've talked about why in the past I highly despise tank destroyers and the balancing decisions that Wargaming has made around them. But there's really nothing you can do about it. You just gotta hope that they don't shoot you, right? Well, I'm going to move over here and see if I can get a shell maybe into the yo. There it is. Aiming. Easy 478 damage shot. And we back up. Now I'm going to put on my reload because we can see that at this point the yo is already quite low. And what's the game plan here? Well, we got the Waffenträger off to the side. Aiming, aiming. Let's put on our tungsten as well. There you go. 526. That's a pretty nasty shell. Now, we know the yo is on reload, and that's because I watched the yo shoot before. So, because of this, it means I can get another Huh? Okay. Well, let's try that again. I can get a shell into the yo. I'm going to angle it. I'm probably going to get penned once. Unless I can get in the cover. I actually can. Nice. We have 2 183s. That's why. But we got 5 seconds left on our reload. 121B's rolling behind. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our shell. We're going to poke the yo. I'll get shot once, and I'll back up. Never mind. He gets the second shell out. The yo really does have an insanely fast interclip of 1.72 seconds. And, I mean, you can see how hard it is to get a bounce from that when it's able to reload so fast. But at this point, we've already done a good job. We're at 3,400 damage. We can see the IS-7 gun doing its job. It can be a little bit goofy on its accuracy. But because the tank is mobile, because it has good armor, because everything about the IS-7 is good, you can see even there, we get 2 bounces from heat shells from the 121. It's a great tank. And, I mean, it's fairly obvious. I think just about everybody in the comments will agree. The IS-7 is fairly brain dead. But that's what you need as a beginner. This is a tank that you can effectively do a consistent job in. If you over-aggress, you will get more bounces than if you were in an E5, for example. And because of that, it does put you in a very solid game. So there you go. 3,863 damage. A pretty good battle. Now we move on to the Type 71. And this is kind of an IS-7. but a little different. Instead of having all the side armor, it has frontal protection. The Type 71's upper and lower plate are incredibly hard to pen. Not only that, but you have two options of loadouts. You can either run improved suspension, getting better mobility, or you can run improved vertical stabilizers and have better gun depression. Personally, I like the gun depression because of the fact certain maps like Dead Rail or Mines are very gun depression oriented. Another map is Canyon. Using the type with gun depression just gives you more opportunities versus just a little bit more mobility. Now, don't get me wrong. Mobility is nice, and there are definitely situations where having the mobility to get to a position faster is nice. But, as I always say, being flexible is the most important thing. And flexibility is gun depression. Having your tank able to work more spots is great. And what's also fantastic is other people do not know what you are running on your Type 71. People might think you're running mobility, and then boom, you're working a ridgeline that they never expected you to be able to actually use. And that's great. It really does allow the Type 71 to feel fantastic in most situations. So here we are, on a map that I don't like with any heavy tank, to be honest, unless I'm in like an E6. This is Castilla, and I actually hate Castilla. I hate everything about it, and just because, in general, heavy tanks suck on this map. You spend 90% of your game driving to hopefully run into enemy tanks. Now, we do have 3 heavies up against us. We have a 60 TP, a K91, and a BZ68. But we are literally just driving all the way over to the medium flank so that we can drive around and up and over and blah, 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 all the way over to Grandma's house. I know it sucks, like, nobody wants to drive all the way around the map like this, but sometimes you kind of have to do it, and this map, as I said, it just kind of sucks. There you go. Nice shot into the Sheridan. Now, the advantage is that this tank has over something, for example, like a IS-7 is the gun. The armor is also frontally focused on this tank, but the gun is a major advantage, because this gun has more pen, and it is much more accurate than the IS-7 gun, which allows you to get away with much more, should I say, enjoyable plays. Having a gun that misses can be very frustrating. You saw the shell I fired on that enemy Yo. It was very annoying, and you don't have that problem occur nearly as much when you're running something like the Type 71. Now, I would assume that this KPZ, yeah, is going to be fired upon by something in the back of the map. I heard the shell. I don't know what it is, but they got a tank destroyer back there, and there's really nothing I can do about it. I also don't know what the heck this KPZ is doing. I actually don't know. But we have to kind of wait here, because the enemy team has a lot of vehicles on this side of the map, and, well, to put it quite simple, we don't. Now, I'm not necessarily worried about the Sheridan. That's gonna suck, though. Yeah. It's my fault. I just... whatever. I need to support my team more, and right now, we are not in a situation where that's going great. I wanted the crossover here, but I really can't do that now, can I? Well, the 183 spotted in the back, and our KPZ... okay, the 60 TP fired. Alright, but the thing that I want to do is I want to get over here, because these teammates need support. So, while it may suck that I bled a bit of health, at the end of the day, I need to cover my team. This is where that gun depression feels really nice, because I can use the gun depression this vehicle has, and I can work against something like this K91 and get another shell into his tank. There you go. I'm trying to help my Caro as much as I possibly can, but, well, yeah, I don't know how much that's going to matter, really. We have the 60 TP over here. Okay. Hits me in the hatch. 688 with a heat shell, by the way. Most inaccurate heavy in tier 10. Hits every shell it fires. The Type 71 does have a hatch, and it's a big weak spot. Like, the IS-7 does not feature a hatch, so you don't have to worry in the IS-7 about being shot in said weak spot. But it's a trade that you're going to be willing to make in this tank, especially because of the fact you do have that better gun. As I said, the gun on this vehicle is much more accurate, much more enjoyable to use in 90% of situations you're in, So even if you do bleed a bit, it's not that big of a deal, especially like this 60 TP. Good job, bro. You over-aggressed, and now you're going to die for it, so I hope it was worth it. There you go. I mean, I still have 700 health left, which is enough. It is enough to work the rest of this game, hopefully. So we're going to chill over here, and I'm going to hope that we still have a full health 57. I don't know what bro's been doing, but he is alive, and he is full health, and that's obviously quite good, because having his HP around is something that I'm going to need. We have the Badger, and you can see that crazy good premium pen that I was talking about with this tank. I can take what is a Badger and just completely melt through its armor, like it doesn't even exist. And that is not something that many heavies can do, and, I mean, look at this. I mean, again, that's crazy. So this tank definitely has a lot of capabilities. We've already dealt 3,800 damage in this game, and we have the Sheridan below us, so I'm just going to aim it on the Sheridan. Nice 440 damage shell. I'm going to back up so that the enemy BZ can't hit me, and then I'm going to chill right here. Sheridan's going to start moving back, and boom, nice 405 into the Sheridan, and all that's left now is the BZ. So we're going to move over here. We are going to push the BZ. I do get penned, but doesn't matter to me. That BZ actually penned me in the mantlet. Or not the mantlet, the turret ring. There's nothing I really could have done about that. That's just bad luck. You can see that shell wedged right in my turret ring there, but it doesn't really matter to me. 57 heavy gets the clear, and we had a really solid game. Type 71 armor, it's good. Like, it didn't look very good in this game. I don't think I actually got a single bounce, really. But the armor is good. You will get bounces, and the gun is much nicer than that of an IS-7, and as we can see, that gun depression allowed me to work a ridgeline that I would not have been able to. So I was able to sit on the top of that hill, I was able to look down on those enemies, and I was able to bleed them out. Because of that, I did over 5,500 damage. I assisted 1,600. That's 7,000 combined, and with that, I was able to ace the tank. So it's a great vehicle. I actually love the Type 71, and it's just a very, very easy one to do well in. As we can see, I've got 3,300 average damage in it. Then we finish off with the Minotauro. This vehicle is, I honestly think, the easiest of the three to play. All you need to do is have basic reading. That's it. Read the stats. Shell 1, 22 seconds. Shell 2, 9 seconds. Shell 3, 8 seconds. So if your brain works, you'll realize that shooting your first shell is not a good idea. You are going to be sitting at a 22-second reload before you can get one shell back, which will again have that 22-second reload. Instead, you should only be shooting shells 3 and 2. Now, what's nice is that the vehicle has a high alpha, 490. It also has good DPM at 2,500, 10 degrees of gun depression, making it flexible. It's actually decently mobile, and best of all is the level of frontal protection that this vehicle features. Basically, you're not going to be penned when using gun depression unless lucky shots end up hitting your hatch, or you're up against very high penetration opponents, like 113 with calibrated, or, you know, tank destroyers. In general, most heavies are going to struggle to cut through you when using gun depression. On flat ground, 50-50. You'll get bounces, but don't expect to get an insane amount of them. And especially, you have to remember, you are a tank destroyer. Tank destroyers do not feature as much health as heavies. My Type 71 has 2,600 hit points. My IS-7 has 2,600 hit points. This tank has 2,000 health. So you're subtracting 600 overall HP to gain the gun, and that is where the Minnow really shines. So here we are, loading in on Yamato Harbor. And up against us, we have a Rinocerante and a 60 TP. Also a 7.52. While that is a tier 9, I honestly consider it just as dangerous as any tier 10. They also have a SU-122, which is platooned with the 7.52. So I'm going to have to be a little cautious about that as well. Alright, well, we are going to make our way over to the heavy flank, and we'll see what happens here. We indeed will see what happens. You can see the mobility on the Minnow. Like, it's not a fast tank. It goes 34 kilometers per hour at top speed, but thankfully, it's decent at getting up to its top speed. It doesn't feel nearly as slow as you would think, which is actually nice. So for right now, we're going to chill in this position. This little thing here, very annoying because it kind of blocks your angle. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal, and you just kind of wait. So we have the Minnow, or not the Minnow, the Rinoceronte, and there you go, a 490 shot into his vehicle. That's a great example there of the high damage that this vehicle can output with a single penning shell. That's a lot. Like, definitely a lot more than something you're going to find the IS-7 dealing, or, you know, another tank of similar attributes. So, I want to get another shell maybe into the Rhino. That's kind of what I would hope, but obviously that player backs up. I just don't want to over-aggress. They have a 183. They got a lot of tanks, and I don't even know what our mouse is doing, to be honest, but they have a lot of vehicles, and I don't know where they are. They have a 62A who's already shooting my K91. You'll notice that we have no mediums, and they do have a medium. So, oh, and I'm spotted from what? It's got to be a tank over here that spotted me. I don't actually know, though. We can see the Rhino now over here, and I don't like this. This is awful. What I'm thinking of doing is backing up. What the heck? I don't even know what the enemy team's doing. They're bleeding us out, but I don't know why the 752 decided to go over there. I don't know why the SG-122 is flanking. And if our mouse just grew a pair and actually pushed, we'd be completely fine. But unfortunately, none of these three things are happening, and it's putting us in a very, very awkward situation. So we have the 60, and the 60 ends up bouncing me. A great example of the very, very troll armor. Again, the APCR standard of a 60 TP is not going to reliably cut through this tank. The SG-122 is dead, and I'm now going to push over to the Rinoceronte, who is over here, and get a 460 damage shell. And then maybe we can get a shot into the 183. Not yet, but that's fine. We'll reload. Looks like the grill is going to be pushed by the 62A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut through here, and then hopefully ignore that 183 and push the 62A. This 62 is the main player that needs to go. And if we can get this player out of the game, it's going to put me in a much better situation. Now, we do have the 752 over here. That's not good. Oh, and I get lit on fire. How lovely. Well, we got a 557 into the 752. We get a 570 into the 752, and then we clear that player. And now we can see the 62A is obviously going to try and get behind me. So the major play that I can make here is to push him off just like this. Beautiful. And now we just wait for our clip to reload. Now, I might be rushed. I do not have support. Like, my team legit sucks. And there's no beating around the bush there. Like, this is a bad team. I am putting in so much more effort than I should be because of this team and what they're doing here. But I'm just going to chill in this position. And actually, where that 62A moved is really good for me, because it allows me to back up and ideally get into cover. That's the goal. But let's aim in. There you go. Nice 466. And we angle the against the 62. Unfortunately, we do not get a bounce, but that's all right. I'm going to aim it on the 62's rear, 613, and then I'm going to... I'm just going to... I was going to shoot it, but it's oh well, right? At the end of the day, this team sucked. And you're always going to get bad teams. But how your tank is able to perform against a bad team is obviously a very important thing. And as we saw in this game, my tank did a good job. Every situation that I was in, it dealt with accordingly. I killed a 752 that had 1,500 health in just 3 shots, was able to turn around, and then I could have technically bled that 62A a huge portion if I'd also fired that last shell. I was just hoping that I would have gotten a bounce. But, I mean, look at my team. A 3,000 hit point tank does 500 damage. A VK90, a 2,500 health heavy, does 480 damage. Teams are always going to suck, and there's nothing you can do about that, especially when the enemy team gets a medium and yours does not. How is that fair? It's not. It sucks. Oh no. But what's great about the Minnow is that it does well in almost any situation. Its armor is reliable. Its gun is super dangerous. And as you can see, when you do dump that reserve shell, it can be devastating. That was a 1,500 health object 752 turned to dust. And imagine if that 62A wasn't there. I would have just killed a full health tier 9 and then moved on with my day and reloaded. And that's what allows the Minnow to really be dangerous. I've got some great average damage in it. I got a solid win rate. I really think that out of the 3, the Minnow is definitely the best beginner heavy. And then I think the IS-7 and Type 71 are really down to what type of playstyle you want. If you want more frontal protection, then the Type 71 is the way to go. If you want more pushing potential and side armor, then the IS-7 is the way to go. Personally, I like the Type a bit more than the IS-7 just because of the fact the gun is so much better. But the IS-7 does have tungsten. It does have a lot more alpha because of that. So, again, back and forth. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you'd like to see more like this, please consider smashing that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!